And I want to go back to what you touched on earlier about your mentors, um, because that's an important thing for an immigrant in a new country. I mean, it's so valuable that, you had mentors. So tell us a little bit about how they helped you and why you think that, we should have mentors like that in our lives.
Just as a little bit of going back on what I was saying about our struggles. In the midst of that, as I had mentioned, that we were in many ways we were kind of maybe a little refreshing for the church communities at that time, um, to reach out to the immigrants, because there were large populations of immigrants, the Vietnamese and you name it, the Hispanic and everyone else, Indians, of course. And the churches, they had this vision of wanting to reach out to Indians that time. And along with all the other, the Hispanic people, the Vietnamese people, the Chinese, and the Korean. And they looked at Nanda and I as maybe the catalyst for starting Indian ministry, because at that time, and I have to proudly say, there was none. There was no Indian ministry to anybody. Yes, the people got together and we had little gatherings so we can eat Indian food and, wear our clothes and come together with other brothers and sisters and enjoy our journey together. And also, our cultural, all the nice things that we miss. So that's when we got together with Shamini and Mohan, and we did all those things then at that time. But it was always, and it was Christ centered also. So we would all come together in the name of Christ and do that. So there were some very, key people in the Bay Area who wanted Nanda and I to start an Indian church. And they even, put everything on the table for us. They will provide a home, they will provide the car, they will provide everything for us. In other words, if you can do this for us in our church, we would like you to be part of our staff and do that. It came as a little bit of at first it was flattering, but there was no peace about us doing that. It was the timing. It could be so many, because we were barely 2 years into college and we needed to finish our degree. That's what we came for. So all of those opportunities were there, but it was never something that we felt God was calling us to do. And that is very unique in a sense, that why not just take it, and then you're fine and your kids are taken care of. And but we felt like we will go through the struggle if we need to, as long as we need to, till we know for sure this is where we belong and this is what we want to do. So so we actually gave up quite a bit too, in a sense. So we chose and not necessarily suffer, but wait patiently on God. And in that whole waiting period, God would lead us to some very beautiful, amazing people. Or they found us, more like they found us. And they taught us so many different things. So, one, there are three key people that mentored my husband. And of course, I was always part of that whole process too. One was the president of the college, San Jose Bible College, Bryce Jessup. The college was started by his dad. That's why it's called William Jessup now. And he would come to our home to pick us up and take us for our 7 a.m. classes, because there was no way we could go with both our boys. He would drive to our home to pick us up to take us to college. And I distinctly remember one time our younger one, waking them up that early in the morning and taking them, dragging them with us. He threw up all over his car. And it was a brand new car that he had. And we were so embarrassed and so upset. He says, "No, it's okay. Children do that. I can clean the car, but you need to be in class now." And there were students from within the college who came together, and the wives were home They would take our kids while we went to school. So there was that little childcare that they provided on campus for our kids. All of these stories led us to the fact is that there are some good people here who are pouring out the lives in our lives. And so we need to listen. We need to
Mhm.
listen how to be like one of them and grow in our faith. So Bryce Jessup, amazing, amazing man, and he mentored us all the way for many, many, many years, even after we left college. Unforgettable man in our lives. The second person is Dr. Earl Rodmacher. He was the president of Western Seminary that time. And he took to both of us. He gave Nanda a full ride scholarship to do his doctorate, another master's and doctorate. Whereas he gave me, and I said, no, thank you. I don't want to do that anymore. One person having just getting the bachelor's in theology is enough for me because I want to go back to teaching. And he teased me for the longest time. He said, it was actually president's scholarship. And he
Okay.
said, no one ever rejected my scholarship. But I said, I know, thank you so much, Dr. Rodmacher. But he taught my husband how to handle the word, how to
Mhm.
interpret the scriptures, and gave him that opportunity. And the third person was Pastor Jim Cook, the pastor of the church on the hill. He just took us in like his children, and he taught us how to shepherd and how to be a servant in ministry. These three people stand out for
Mhm.
us as for him also and for me too as a couple. But there are some key women who poured out their lives in mine. And they taught me how to not have to be in a sari all the time because it's not convenient. I realized that they taught me how to dress. They taught me how to cook, how to bake, how to decorate the house. All of these things, I would never have done it on my own. Coming from where I came from, you know, playing with dolls that were made with rags and paper. And to me is I need to learn from these women. And they taught me. They taught me so many. And they, I mean, when they teach you something, mean they're giving something to you. And they would give money, they would give clothing, they would buy me gifts, they would give me flowers, all in little ways that helped me to understand, okay, so this is what I would have to do also to someone else. And as a young mom, I learned to sit at the feet and with utmost respect and honor, I learned from them. There was Bernice Wood, there was Jane Lewis, there was Evelyn Connolly, there was Mrs. Cuthbert. I still have memories of all of them. I planted rose bushes in their name when we got our first house. And I have the roses are still growing with the ones that even after we moved, we have each of those memories. So besides being those important life lessons, I have learned that there is a legacy that I have inherited from them, which I need to carry on. So when I had the first opportunity, the Titus II mandate, the
Mhm.
older women teaching the younger women. I
Yeah.
may have been the younger woman then, but I am older now. But regardless, everyone is older at some point and everyone is younger at some
Mhm.
point. So mentoring happens both ways.
Yeah. And that's a
So
good word of encouragement, I think, to whoever's listening or watching, right? Like you
mentoring
said,
happens both ways.
yeah, it happens both ways. But even um, you can't think of yourself as too old or too young because God can put someone in your life who needs the support, who needs someone to come alongside them. And so all you have to do is just look around and prayerfully um, just keep your eyes open, and God will show you, whom to. We are calling it mentoring, but it could also be seen as, whom you could encourage, whom you could come alongside, and maybe they have specific needs that only you can provide at that time in their lives. So that's such a good word of encouragement that
Yeah.
we can also be mentors, regardless of our age or even our spiritual maturity. Sometimes people think like you have to be very spiritually mature to be able to mentor others, but you can just show love, be willing to read the Bible with them or study the Bible with them. So thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your organization, Good Cup. Tell us about the story behind it. I know you started in 2015. So, what led up to that? What inspired you?
Um, that part of it is very uniquely, the way it unfolded to me was not at all what I expected. Uh, that was a little bit dramatic too, in a way. Uh, but it was in retrospect, as it was not a one day I thought about something and I did it. It wasn't that. But there was this this slow brewing, um, I wouldn't say anger, but deep concern
Hmm.
for what's happening to women, particularly in third world countries.
Yeah.
So it was something that actually started with a response to the grace that was shown in my life by God. I had to come to a sense of gratitude. Um, I I kind of thought about it one day, and I was sitting there. I was doing a prayer. Actually, I was in Starbucks that day,
Mm.
and I was looking around, and I was watching people coming, people going. I like to just sit back and just observe people. And that's when I said, I'm sitting here drinking this coffee, which was maybe $3 or $4 only at that time. Now it's, of course, more. And like nobody's business. I drove myself here. I'm sitting here. I'm waiting for somebody. And I'm having the coffee. And it was like a moment that I wanted to just catch and hold it for a long time. But then the thought came to me that what is it that I did that I deserve this time of my life? I was thankful. Not that there were no, troubles in my life. Yes, there were always struggles. By then we have a daughter. We had a daughter, and so that was a blessing in itself. Just being involved with her life and seeing her grow up and do all the things. So I was sitting there and I said, you know what? There has to be more to my life. There was a kind of a little bit of a restlessness along with that attitude of, life is good.
Yeah.
So there was a paradox right there that I felt like I'm okay, I'm doing great. I'm so, much in grace with God. But that idea came to me, and the question was, what did I do to deserve this? And I was so surprised. I thought that I would think of something. I thought of one thing: nothing. Did nothing to deserve this. And that kind of made me realize it was the Holy Spirit basically muddling the waters in my heart. And so you didn't do anything to deserve this. It was all my grace. It's all my grace. And then the idea of, okay, it's all your grace, God. Thank you so much. I says, no, it doesn't stop here.
Mhm.
I gave you grace, so you need to now go back and give it to someone else. And that part of giving back resonated with me and it stuck with me. And I knew I could not shake that feeling of giving back. What do I do to give back? Okay, next time I go to India, I'm going to take more gifts for them. Or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That wasn't what God was leading me to. I realized that. And I felt like this is something that we did not simply land to exist where we are. We are supposed to be doing more. And what that more is looks different for each one, differently. So, and then the other thing that really pierced, it was like a stab in my heart. We did not choose to be born where we are born.
Mm. That's
Because
true.
it was around that time I saw a movie. It was actually, the setting was in Middle East, and I will not share the name, but a movie about this woman being stoned for adultery. It was very graphic. It was horrifying to watch that movie, but I was compelled to watch it. And I asked the question, what did she do to deserve that?
Yeah.
Why is it that we in America don't have to go through that? It's where she was born, it's where she exists. And that she did not make that choice. That choice happened for her. And then I realized, you know what? I have a lot more than she has only because of God's grace. And He chose for me, but not to keep it for myself now. And that was a catalyst for me to start thinking about starting something. Even then, I didn't know what it was. And then as I prayed about it and I talked about it, and I realized this is why not start an organization? And then I got scared and I closed everything and I said, forget it. I'm not going to think about this anymore. But as time went on, I then talked to one of the attorneys in my church and I said, you know a lot about all this nonprofit stuff. Can you explain to me? So when I shared this story, my story, and what I'm thinking, he almost stood on the table and he said, Liz, I am so excited just listening to you, and you do it. I will be behind you, cheering you on, and I am going to set it up for you, and I will waive all my fees just to get this done. And today he's on the board with me, along with two others. So that was the beginning of how I started a good cup. And I'm just humbled and so deeply grateful for the grace in my life that it was not out of any obligation.
Mhm.
It was because of gratitude.
Amen.
There's
Amen.
a sense of gratitude.
And before, we end this conversation, I wanted to ask you to share a little bit about what does a good cup do?
So I want to read the vision because I don't want to leave any word or misplace the letters.
No, that's a great idea. Yeah.
So our vision at a good cup international, and I will share about why we call it a good cup. It's our vision. Our vision is to empower and cultivate self worth and value of oppressed and marginalized women around the world. So our target is actually small communities of women. So it's not like we want to say, oh, all the women in Thailand we're going to reach. No, we're not going to do, you can't do that. At least not at the level that I was at. And these are small communities that are oppressed and marginalized for certain reasons. So, for example, in India, I intentionally chose a group of women from the Dalit community. These women, as we all have heard about the caste system in India, and this is the bottom of the lowest caste,
Yeah.
the Dalits, also known as the untouchables. So, if you want to reach these people, it is one of the hardest things to do because they cannot rise above where they are because they're lowest of the lowest. It's almost like they're nothing. Even though India has a lot of regulations and legislations for providing them with more freedom and more resources, but it is so steeped in the culture of the country
Yeah.
that the low caste, the people in that strata, are not taken care of, not attended to, not even looked at. So we chose those communities of women. So we work with them. And as our vision says, to empower them and to cultivate self-worth and dignity.
Mhm.
Most times we women, as you know, yes, we would like things and we would like material things, but what we like and enjoy the most is our dignity.
Mm.
That no matter where we are, we want people to treat us with respect
Yeah.
and value. And as you had shared the struggles you went through, I went through also the misogyny and the abuse that happens even publicly of women. And now things have gone better in India and other places, but there is still a lot of that happening there. and being a voice for these women, because who else will be their voice? Because no
Yeah.
one will listen to them anyway. So
Mm.
that's a vision. And I wanted to make sure that it's not necessarily a Christian organization, but it's based on Christian principles.
Mm-hmm.
It is a humanitarian cause, and it's based on Matthew 10:42. Because I struggle with, what is it, God, that I can give? I don't have money. I don't have that influence of, okay, here is $1 million and let's do this. I don't have that. And I asked God, what can I do? How can I, get this going? He led me to this verse, Matthew 10:42. As much as you give a cup of cold water to the least of these,
Mm-hmm.
you have done it to me.
Yeah.
That's your reward. All we need is a cup of cold water, which is actually a metaphor for whatever you have.
Mm-hmm.
Fill it. And
Yeah.
that's why I said, I know for sure what I want to call my organization,
Mm-hmm.
a good cup filled with compassion,
Yeah.
filled with whatever relief we can give at that time. And that's what it's going to be, a good cup of. And the word cup is actually an acronym, compassion unveiled with purpose.
Oh,
So
I like that. Mm-hmm.
that's why it's called a Good Cup International. And we have a presence in India, of course, among the Dalit women. And how we do is that we provide little entrepreneurship type of programs for them. We provide education for the younger girls so they can go through college, get a degree, or do whatever course, whether it's nursing or, we don't tell them what to do. They decide for them what their dreams are, what their career is. You want to be a nurse? Okay, let us help you.
Mm-hmm.
Go sign up for classes and we will find sponsors for you. So we have sponsorship for all of these girls. And then they when they finish, as a matter of fact, we through our programs, we have a doctor that came out of medical school, and we have a
Wow.
couple of engineers and nurses, and of
Praise
course
God.
teachers.
Yeah.
So when they get to that point, that is our reward. And by the way, our organization is totally 100% voluntary. Nobody gets paid for anything. So the cost, whatever donations we get, 95% of it goes into the ministry. And we just retain a little bit of it, which is barely 2% for our website and for the literatures and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we have a presence in Thailand also. Thailand is a different purpose. These are girls 10, 11, 12, 13 year olds. We're trying to get them not just out of the industry of the sex industry, but keeping them from even joining that. So
Mm.
we have safe houses, which are actually led by our partners there.
Okay.
They do all the work for us there, and they do, and other people support them too. And these girls are safely put there where they get their education and their training, and then we provide for them through, like, we provided a commercial oven that they can bake things. That's new for them. So baking is huge for these girls. They bake stuff, they make cakes or whatever, and sell them, and that's
And
them.
they make a living, so they don't have to go into the
Then
sex trafficking world or sex industry. Wow. I'm
then
just
here
so
we do for Sacramento, we have the homeless women.
okay.
We
Yeah.
help them. In fact, we have a project we want to launch in the next week or so, just hygiene stuff for these women. So,
Yeah.
in a
It,
nutshell.
well, that's a lot. And it's so, inspiring to hear the work that A Good Cup is doing, how it is helping women, empowering them, giving them worth and dignity. And in doing that, you're being the hands and feet of Jesus. You're taking Jesus's love to them in tangible ways. And so I just pray that God will expand your ministry and that you'll be able to reach many more women. And to all the listeners and viewers, I want to say that I will link to A Good Cup in the show notes. And if you feel led to in any way donate to the organization, you can do that. And maybe, if someone's interested to do more, they can all they can get in touch with you. Liz, is that okay?
Thank you. I
Yeah.
would totally appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on Far From Home and sharing your story. It was a blessing and a privilege.
Thank you so much, Mabel, and appreciate all that you're doing and finding this purpose in your life and being a blessing to all of us. And this was fun, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
And
fun. Yeah. Getting to know
uh,
you a little bit
I,
more. Yeah. Go ahead.
I really appreciate this time. Thank you so much. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.